Good evening, one and all. Welcome to a live a weekend live. This is something that I thought we were going to have some sort of repeat of last week. We did like a slapdash weekend live last week, and we ended up playing games, and it seemed like it was a fun time. We certainly didn't get to finish. Excuse me. We certainly didn't get to finish because I'm on this right here, which is the app limits how much time you can stream. And whether or not I like it, whether or not you like it, the stream gets cut short. And we are in the middle of a round of Gardic phone, and everything was cut short. So uh, I put up a poll on my community tab saying, you know, if I go live, what would you like me to do? Putting up another kind of duplicate of last week, a Deadpool slash movie discussion, and then this, what we're watching now, and it wasn't even close, which is kind of shocking. Like this category here, doing the who would like that tier list, um, which is I'm just going to merge all of the who would like that stuff into the Savage Cinema banner because I've just had that and I've used it over the course of time, and I don't know, it rolls off the tongue a little bit better than who would like that, even though my whole thing for when I first started YouTube was, "Will I like it?" That is what WILI of WILIscredia is, "Will I like it?" Um, but yeah, I if you noticed the new logo for Savage Cinema, I made the W from my logo and just branding. It's all about branding. But, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a tier list for the movies that I've watched over the last 5 years, under the "Who Would Like That" um, banner. There's about 29 movies. I haven't done reviews for all of them. There's 1 or 2 that, if you're a patron, you can literally read one of the scripts for one of these movies, and we'll get to it when I get to it. And I just don't know how to attack it because I like to cover these videos with an element of humor, and sometimes it doesn't come across, and sometimes it's hard. And that subject matter is difficult for real life reasons, and I genuinely don't know how to handle that. So I've been kind of sitting on my thumbs. Pizza rolls, what's going on? Hey, Aaron, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? Coors Light, giddy up. Well, good to have you. Good to see you. Um, Thanks for joining. What am I able to? I'm sorry, I'm new to this. All right, so let me know if you can see that. Is everything kind of like interacting? If I pull things off of the bottom, do they work? Ugh, this is so slapdash and shitty. Um, Ryan, what's going on? Um, so the tiers, it's going to be a little bit different. and I depending on how much time we do here, how much of a financial interest I have to keep going, I might do different tiers for different categories because these movies, um, your subjectivity and your desensitization can be different for different things. Like some of these movies are really gory, and like if you have a problem with SA, well, most of these movies have that. But like if you don't have a problem with gore, it may not be that big a deal for you. There's some movies that have no gore, but they have SA, um, and for that, it's a bit much. So, I'm just kind of lumping it all together, like, what I feel like would be a rough watch, just generally speaking. But if this goes a certain way, we'll just reset all of the movies and do, like, one based on gore and one based on, um, SA discomfort. Um, I don't know how else to put it. I've been trying to put, like, a report card of what is and what is not in a certain movie that I cover for this. SA is, it's, hmm, it rhymes with mexual tossalt. Thank you, Ryan. I'm glad it didn't block you from saying that in the chat, but please don't make that a habit. Yeah, this is like ranking solid poop over diarrhea. That's it. You got it. Um, and I guess it makes sense why this was voted for because you people hate me, and uh, that sucked, Aaron. Good to see you though. Um, so we're going. I'm going to try to traverse this. These are all movies. Some of them you may not recognize reviews for, and that is for good reason. These are movies that I have watched, whether or not content has been made out of it. Um, that's the true thing. But these have been watched for the purpose of doing something with the savage cinema who would like that content. And at the very least, you're if you don't notice any reviews, you're getting content now. But so the bottom tier, which you're going to have to forgive your normal tier list brain for this because for this list, bottom is normies, and that essentially we're not going on quality here. This is whether or not it's good or bad has nothing to do with this tier list. We're going on how much I think someone can handle a movie. Um, and normies is Forrest Gump, and the opposite end is I don't know a snuff film or something. So the next category is test society, which means it's probably got some stuff that may be, you know, a bit of a gossip, but it's something that you don't mind. You'll watch it, but you have a little bit of an issue with it. The next tier up is edgy, and that's some things that you certainly don't want to watch this with your parents or children. Although I don't think any of these you want to watch with your parents or children, but it's something that the higher we go, the more you're certainly going to second guess yourself and certainly stop yourself from recommending to friends and things. And edgy is some things that you kind of stop yourself from admitting that you enjoyed it or something. The next tier up is over some lines, which it's it's the closest thing to just too far. It could be something that it went too far for you, but you understand why it has some sort of purpose or uh, a following, or people give it some sort of praise. A lot of these movies on here, they have praise for different reasons, but as you'll see as I go through this, some of it is I don't understand, even with the praise, even with the artistic merit, I still have a hard time, and that is the top tier. That is who would like that. That is stuff that is absolutely disturbing. I cannot figure out what is the reward to taking this particular film in. Um, what type of artistic merit does it have? Is it strictly just shock value and nothing really else redeeming to it? That is the tippy top tier there, uh, otherwise known as who would like that. Hello, dice. Uh, no issues. Crawling chaos. Catch it on the VOD. Okay, so uh, again, this isn't quality of films. This is just based on my desensitized ass from bottom to top, how much I feel like you might be worth the gamble to check it out. The bottom is I would say give it a try, and the top I would really recommend maybe thinking about things before you throw it on. And if you can't see the titles here, I'll as I'm pulling it, I will read it to you. So this here is the house that Jack built. This is fairly recent. Lars, I think it's Lars von Trier who directed this, and it's about a serial killer, and um, it. This is something that I feel like, depending on the viewer, can can go back and forth. I will say it's edgy in the middle there, but like again, this is another reason why I kind of wanted to separate the SA from the gore, because gore, this might be a little bit higher, even though there's some elements of SA. But like if you're used to like really gory horror movies, this movie isn't that bad. Um, a lot of these movies, people challenge themselves and watch for the sake of, oh, I can handle it, and the story doesn't mean so much. Um, there's one movie in particular in here that's just like, I don't know, just jackass, but for snuff, and there's no real redeeming quality to it, and it's more of a just a challenge for people that want to see live league stuff, and it's I genuinely don't think there's anything redeeming to it. Where this is that Von Trier, if you know him, you know what you're sort of getting into. But yeah, it depends. I guess all of this depends. Sky says, "I don't think that one's too bad." Okay, yeah, that's where I should stop thinking about you and just do this for how I feel about it, because this is my tier, and by all means, um, this is on Tier Maker if you want to try it on your own, run amok. But yeah, House That Jack Built is edgy, right in the middle for me. Raw, 2017 French language film, Julie Ducournau's freshman film. Um, it's gory, but I honestly, I'm tempted to put it in normies. To be honest with you, there isn't too much about that. Like there's so many allegories to like vegetarianism, like literally in that movie. It's not to spoil anything, but cannibalism, and a lot of allegories for vegans and vegetarianism is there in the movie. And I don't know, if you have interest in it, I would assume, like if you're reading the synopsis and you have interest, I would assume you're expecting some sort of gore. It's puzzling to me that that movie gets suggested for something like this, and even with that, I really want to put it you know what? I'm going to put it in normies because I've changed my mind. If you're here for this, this is entry level. Yes, some people will find problems with it as far as the content. I'm not grading the movies, the quality of the films. Remember that. Um, but the content, I can't imagine people being like if you're trying to be challenged visually. I really can't imagine like jumping in, watching Raw, and then being like, "Oh my god, I can't handle this." Like, guess what? You you can't handle any of these. Short story long. Um, I'm trying to think where else. I just don't want to keep doing things that are just gory. Um, all right, so I'll do this here. This is another French movie, Netflix's Cuties, which had quite a buzz for the wrong reasons a couple of years ago. And it's about children dancers, singers that are presented in an awkward light. Um, I understood the messaging. I understood what they were trying to do. They went too far. Um, with that said, I'm going to say it's the middle tier. It's edgy. There's nothing really gory about it. There are shots and images that present um, just discomfort. The male gaze, so to speak, is used on um, actors who are not 18 and in quite compromising looking positions. Nothing really. It's just dancing, mind you, but it's suggestive. So much for AdSense. I can't dance around the words here. Um, but it is a commentary on beauty pageants for children, and I get it, and they're right. Why do we still have beauty pageants for children? But uh, fucking France, man, they go two steps too far. Happy Olympics, by the way. Um, yeah, another one here. This one I just watched this past year. This is Elephant. This is a Gus Van Sant film. Kind of like based on Columbine, but not really. Like it's infamous for the reasons of it was released after a couple of years after Columbine, and it's very samey. Um, the further away from that occasion you are, I would assume every time there's a school shooting, this movie might be a bit more triggering for someone. But I'll say tests society because it's so shitty to say this, but in this day and age, Elephant is kind of tame. And again, not speaking artistically, but I'm not really on board with Gus Van Sant, to be honest with you. And this movie, I will cover it eventually. I don't know when, but don't expect a glowing review from me because I, I'm I don't know of very many Gus Van Sant movies where I'm like, oh yeah, awesome. Spoiler. All right, so one that you've probably heard of for infamy reasons is the Human Centipede. Um, artistic merit is quite thin here. Uh, it's not even that grotesque. It's more of a just the thought of something and then seeing the image of the thing that you're like presented the idea of. It's more like a gag idea that's put through execution. Um, I'm going to say tests society because it has a couple of things that are just weird, just just weird. And if you read the synopsis of that and, like, carry through, and I can't imagine you being very shocked by what you're looking at on the screen. And again, knowing what the director has said of their intent and what they wanted to do with the movie, I don't entirely agree with that. Um, and it's just I don't know. I'm not giving you any credit for that. I'm sorry. It just seems to be like sight gags. Um, so to the one that I'm like stuck on, which is currently there's a script for this, but I don't know what I want to do because this is 1983's Angst, which is a Austrian film, an Austrian German language film, which if you don't know anything about the true story, it probably doesn't hit as hard. But this is a movie that's based on true events and it's loosely inspired by true events. And if you just watch this movie and don't know any of the outside story to it, it's it's an an edgy R-rated thriller. But knowing that a lot of this is they just kind of took certain elements of real life and tweaked it, like, it's hard. I would say over some lines, maybe edgy, but if you don't know any better, I mean, like, the victims' families, yes, I would assume that they have this is top tier for them. But if you don't know any better, again, it's been over 40 years now. I I don't know how to grade these categories because, like, if you're, like, going to be disturbed, by that I mean, if you're going into this expecting, like, to be, like, challenged visually, it's not gonna be there. It's when you start using the thought process like, "Oh, this actually happened." They're, you know, fantasizing something that really happened, and that's where it kind of, loses touch with things. But, um, I'm going to say Test Society for, like, a very similar reason that I put Elephant in there. Unfortunately, a lot of people are desensitized to this. Angst was banned in a couple of places, but that also says something to the '80s and just how like fucking weak in the knees all these governments were about you know edgy stuff. And essentially, society said, "Hold my beer" over the last 40 years, and we've gotten much worse. Um, the most recent thing that we watched, we had a watch along on Discord. A couple of people joined. We're in and out for this. This is a French film, 2016's Elle. Um, this is SA involved. Um, trigger warning, trigger warning for all of these. That should go without saying. But this is, I don't know. It's French, and I don't know if I were to go by French rules, I would just say it's a normie movie. But I'm going to put it in Test Society again without spoiling the movie. There's a bizarre element about um, abuse that I don't know. I understand why it was suggested, but at the same time, um, the character kind of has their own uh, agency over things. I think it's really hard to properly gauge this. I understand why it would be suggested here, but at the same time, and all of these just would cause PTSD. All of these movies cause PTSD. I am walking, talking proof. But L, um, there's for the subgenre of SA, there's far worse than L. I mean, all of it is just kind of gnarly, and this is if you had to take all of them, this is kind of more closer to. um, public consumption than anything. I'll go backwards again. The Coffee Table, which was released this year, um, another foreign language film that I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna put it in normies. Um, Again, with the barrier that these movies, like, you have to have some sort of desensitization. With that known, this is kind of entry level because there isn't really gore. There isn't really SA. I mean, it's implied, it's suggested, but you don't even know if that's true. If anything, it's a bit of a joke. And I without going into it, I it's not that the act is a joke, it's the fact that it's brought up, but it may not be true, and if you watch the movie, you'll understand. I'm not making less of the act, it's just something that you don't even know if that's actually happening in the film. But other than that, there's not really gore. There's maybe a shot or 2 that, is quite modest about things. Um, it's more about the tension and putting yourself in a character's shoes and just it's really, really tense and brilliant. I it's a shame that that was suggested for me for this. Right now, it's my favorite movie of the year. So, whatever that tells you. Again, if I really apologize if you watch some of the things that are, like, on the lower tier for me and you're, like, totally shattered for it. I'm sorry. It's because of all of you that my perception of these movies has been broken. Um, I'll break the ice here and, where are you? Let's get you out of the way. Solo. Solo or the 120 Days of Sodom. It has artistic merit to it. There are certainly some brilliant cinematography, um, but it is debauchery. There is no arc for the characters. The villains are just that. There is no, comeuppance. There's no anything. It's just people get screwed over, get screwed literally, um, all of the above, screwed, killed, essayed, all of it, tortured, and the people in power just kind of stay in power. Like, it is you do not wanna watch this movie, period. Um, Let alone, like, to, like, feel good about humankind because it's just rotten. It really is rotten. Again, as far as gore is concerned, it's not the top of the scale. It's this amalgamation of things that are factored in, like just the people in power just literally and figuratively fuck you over. That is solid. It's a rough watch. Again, I understand certain perspectives. The cinematography's giving you a story with the visual, but I don't need to see all that. Thank you. Or no thank you. So there you go. There's the first who would like that. um, Pardon. Sean says, why would you want to watch that unless there's a point to it? Well, why you would want to watch it is a better question. Why I want to watch it is because I have people that make it a financial interest of mine, and I understand the humor in seeing me stammer around and trying to figure out what artistic merit is. And I do recognize it. In the days, weeks of the review process, it's difficult, but once I start doing something, I understand it's humorous. And if somebody laughs at it, I'm okay with it. But why would you watch it? I don't know. I guess that's another thing. I do it so you don't have to. Hey, what's going on, Troy? Salo, aka Eat Shit and Die the movie. Yeah, that I guess I forgot that part too. Yes. Scat. The first movie that contained scat in today's list. Oh, I missed the sequel. Human Centipede 2. Oddly enough, worse than the first one. And this is a movie that I appreciate more. And I realize saying those words really makes me seem suspect, but the fact that it's shot in black and white, um, I'm really reaching to give this film credit. Black and white is normally presented for like something realistic, um, and this movie is kind of like fucking fourth wall breaking within itself, and it's a movie within a movie within a movie, and a guy in this universe. The first Human Centipede movie is a movie, but in part two, the guy's a fan of the first movie and he's trying to recreate it, but he's trying to go further, just bigger and worse. Luckily, it's in black and white, so some of the gore isn't as bad, but they take it harder and go further. And again, more bodily fluids and things like that. I'm actually going to say that it goes over some lines. Like I'm doing that because I have an audience that just in case you traverse into that thing. I personally would probably put it at edgy, but there is stuff in that movie that is pretty hardcore. Um, and if you watch any of these and you're like, it's not that bad, um, may I ask that you start introducing some family films into your diet, just to rinse every now and again. Yes, the Juice Man. That's right. Pier Paolo Pasolini, after or during, in between the filming of Salo and before it was released, Pier Paolo Pasolini, the director of Salo, um, was taken out of this world, and there's lots of rumors as to how and why. If I ever end up covering Salo again and actually doing some sort of review for it, I think I'll cover more of the the surrounding things of Salo. But yeah, it's an interesting story, and at if you consider like 50 years ago, like where society was, I can kind of understand people being that taken aback by it. Um, and yeah, it's really shitty that we just keep the movies kind of get worse, but like us as society catches up to it. It's really kind of rotten. This is not for this is the I should have an antidepressant sponsor for this stream. Um, what do we have here? So Threads, another one we watched in the last couple of months. Lindsay told me to watch the day after, but Threads and the day after are they're similar but different. And I've seen the day after, and I don't think the day after, while it hasn't been suggested yet, I think Threads is actually worse. They were both, they were both television movies in the early '80s. Threads was a TV movie in the UK. Day After was a TV movie here in the US, all dealing with Cold War nuclear Holocaust stuff. The American version's a bit more, I don't know, TV friendly. That is the day after. But Threads, the British version, a bit more hardcore. Like this has like nuclear body horror in it, and it's gnarly, like really gnarly. If you're just watching these things for gore, you may not really be too attached to anything. You might think that this is like subpar. But if you're going into these films and putting emotion behind some of these things, Threads is a tough watch. I'm going to say Test Society though, because it's just we've seen different variations of it, where how groups of people uh, get pushed to the brink and how we act with each other. This is that, except with a little bit of, excuse me, a lot bit of body horror on top of it. I almost want to say edgy, but another 40-year-old movie that I don't know. If you want a tamer version of either Threads or The Day After, watch Miracle Mile. That is probably the entry level suggestion I would give to you if you have interest in either Threads or The Day After. Watch Miracle Mile from 1988 and see how you feel with that. And if you're like, yeah, um, if you're without whelm, then progress forward. But I would certainly say Miracle Mile is something that wouldn't even be on this list. So, and it isn't. So you're welcome. Elephant isn't that bad. See, like everybody's get like that's my issue here, Aaron. Everyone's gonna have a different thing where they're like, I don't see it, and I understand. There are certain movies that I'm like, I don't even know why I have it in the list. Like Raw, I don't understand. Coffee Table, I get why parents feel that way, but it's not like they show you things. Like bad things happen in the world. Um, don't watch it. Like, um, yeah, nobody's going to agree with this list wholeheartedly, and that's why I'm thinking of maybe doing different like categories. Because if we were just going on gore, some of these movies wouldn't even register. Like Cuties, there's no gore in that. I'm trying to think what else. Coffee Table technically there's a little bit of gore, but not really. And the other way around, if it were SA, L would be pretty high, whereas you know um, Coffee Table wouldn't even be registering on that. And Threads, actually, I'm not 100% sure if there's none of that in Threads because it gets really gnarly at the end there when spoiler after the bomb goes off. Um, eh, okay, so all right, so I'll bury it now. Faces of Death. Um, this is the when I was a kid, this was the test your strength movie. Nobody was allowed to rent it, but if you can get your hands on it, see if you can watch it. And like how stupid kids are, you want to watch it, and it's it's dwarfed today by things like Live Leak. The internet is a lot more dangerous slash scary today, but Faces of Death, it for its standards, it does not have any artistic merit. A lot of it is fake. A lot of it is news footage. There is no artistic reasoning or merit for Faces of Death to exist. It's just fucked up shit for the sake of fucked up shit. It's jackass for gorehounds. That's really all it is. And I understand why people have um, a want. I don't want to say a need, a want to see films like that. And I know I've been told there are far worse movies than that. But for the sake of this bunch, um, Faces of Death is just that there's nothing redemptive about it. It's just things being horrible and dead uh, without much redemption at all, and some of it's faked. Um, and there's like animal stuff which a lot of people have issues with, so on and so forth. What do we? Oh, so this is one I watched within the last 2 years. It's Come and See. It's a Russian film from the 80s. It is a war film. Um, I'm actually going to put it in Test Society next to Threads because it's fucking gnarly. Like it is the most difficult watch you could ever have for a like a World War II based movie. Even like way more than Private Ryan. Um, because you're experiencing this movie through kids, and it's just awful. If there's a common theme with most of these movies, it's that you just feel miserable after the fucking thing. And come and sme come and see may be like the tippy top of, wow, I really need some ice cream and something happy to watch now because I just sat through Come and See, and oh boy, um, I wouldn't say it's for normies, and it doesn't really have too much to test your boundaries. It all of this is extremely subjective, but I'm giving you, I don't know, I guess how I would recommend. And by all means, let me know what you think if you disagree with something. There's no right or wrong answers here, except mine. Mine are all right. Um, so we'll do this one. This is one that I've watched. Emily and I watched it when I was there most recently. I don't know when I plan on doing something as far as a video is concerned. This is The Girl Next Door from 2007. Um, there's essay, there's torture, there's kids in it who are experiencing all of that. Um, I'm going to put it in over some lines. Again, this is more of a emotional thing. While you don't see any S content uh, or gore, the the essence of things, and very very powerful acting, and the tone is funky. Um, a lot of the film is presented like the same coming of age type tone that like Stand By Me is presented with, and it just does not match. I don't know if it's doing so to be ironic or to be juxtaposed, but it doesn't work in this movie. There's some fucked up shit in this movie. And again, this is something that's based on true stories. I think it's a bit of a hybrid of two different stories, but this thing happened um, not in America. I believe they just transplanted where it happened. It's kind of popular if you're familiar with. I'm not going to send you any further because real life stuff, like, I'm not. If you know, you know. But that is why that's less than comfortable. Um, Cannibal Holocaust, I guess that is on a video in the Who Would Like That series. Um, Another one of those kind of trick people into thinking it was real. Actually, did some things to animals. I'm going to, and there's essay. I'm going to put it in Who Would Like That. It's kind of a scandalous take for me the more I think about it. But see, Dice has seen it. See, now I feel better that that there at least one thing has been seen by any of y'all. But yeah, Cannibal Holocaust is, I I understand what they're doing, and to be told that it's a commentary on like uh, terrible news coverage of the 70s, I understand. And I understand that art, you need to like cross over lines to get people's attention. I think Coffee Table does that today, where it gets your attention without really showing you a lot of things. I think if you can manage to get people thinking without having to show them everything, you've done a good job. I think Cannibal Holocaust, while it was Blair Witch before Blair Witch was, I don't think all of that was necessary to get the point across. Next, Titane, the other film by Julia Ducournau, came out recently. Um, Not really much in gore, uh, some sex, gender stuff in it that I don't know. Like, if you're here for this list, Titane is, I'll say test society, but it's tame by this basket of movies is concerned. But there is some things where it tests gender norms and things like that, and you know, um, fooling somebody into thinking, well, just misrepresenting something, and I will leave it at that. Requiem for a Dream. Emily was the star of this video. It it it's gory. There is SA in it, and it is the opposite of a love letter to drugs. However, I'm going to say that it's edgy. Um, if you don't have an issue with drugs, or I can see people not being phased by this, even though there's SA and elements of gore. Racism, just good old fashioned racism towards the end. Um, just negligence for humanity, um, but it's craftfully done. Ooh. Um, Again, I can understand somebody disagreeing with me. By all means, tell me. But as far as like when a movie gets more mainstream attention, I feel like it's a bit of a gateway drug of sorts. Pardon the pun. But stuff like Raw, um, a Coffee Table is still new, so I don't know about that just yet. Threads, like these are movies that people are aware of. Like I should release a an iceberg video and kind of cloud the waters even further. But Requiem is it's kind of known to the public, but it is difficult to watch. It it depends on what your deal is. I can see somebody saying, "Wait a minute, Come and See is way harder to watch than that." And I can understand that, and I can understand somebody saying Requiem for a Dream is harder to watch than Come and See. I get it, and as far as I'm concerned, Requiem has a little bit extra trauma to deal with. Um, we'll do the most recent one that I've watched. That is the 1997 version of Lolita. Um, Essay, um, not much in the gore category. Um, it's presented in an unreliable narrator, which means um, the way it's presented, if you don't do any work for the movie, you you're to take everything you're seeing on screen as honest, and it's not. Um, if you're willing to swallow whatever the hell the unreliable narrator is telling you, it may not be as bad. But again, um, Lolita, I don't need to. If you don't know anything about it, just if you know what Lolly is, um, Lolly is kind of based on Lolita. So, like, age is a big factor here, and if you don't understand the unreliable narrator, I would certainly say it's edgy. Um, ugh. Let's just keep all the French stuff going. It's gotta be like 3 out of 4 movies here is French. Baise-moi, which is French for "fuck me" or the R word, me, struggle snuggle me. Um, Essay, a bit of gore. It's a lot like, Natural Born Killers meets, an RR movie, a Struggle Snuggle Revenge movie, and it's pretty gnarly. It stars 2 adult film actors, so there's that. Um, if gore is your issue, you can handle it. If SA is your issue, maybe not. I'm going to say over some lines. I'm really tempted to put it in Who Would Like That, to be honest with you. I don't think I I feel like whatever artistic merit you're chasing in that movie, you can get from either Thelma and Louise or, um, shit, I brought it up before, Natural Born Killers. Those are better variations of this story, uh, to get more of a artistically rewarding experience. Base Moi is it's it's rough. Again, Pretty Woman? No, not Pretty Woman. Thelma and Louise. Did I say Pretty Woman before? I did not mean Pretty Woman, I meant Thelma and Louise. It's already a long night. Thelma and Louise ver kind of similar to Base Moi, not nearly as hardcore, obviously. Um, well, let's get the Korean one out of the way. Bedeviled, that is for some reason, that video just does not have any sort of traction on it. I quite enjoy that movie. Again, SA is prevalent in that movie. Another, struggle snuggle revenge movie, I will say Test Society. Watch that review, please. Tell people about it. Oh, what do I wanna do next? Alright, we need to talk about Seven. We need to talk about Kevin, which falls under the elephant style of film, and it's more like it's just miserable. Shocker, as are every other movie in this list. It's more about the trauma and the dread of dealing with something, um, like being the survivor of, a mass event ender. Um, it's it's difficult the same way that Threads is difficult. It's difficult the same way that Cuties is difficult. It's difficult the same way Come and See is difficult. It's just like none of like not like I would say any of these are a fun watch, but this one's like really kind of dreadful. And I will put it in edgy, which is I don't know, like I second guess the second I drop it, I'm like, maybe I can go harder or softer. I don't know. Japanese film, Suicide Club. Again, it was released almost 30 years ago. Back then, maybe it was really, really edgy. Society has kind of caught up to this silly bullshit. Uh, by today's standards, I will say Suicide Club is edgy. And I think that's a little hard, to be honest with you. I think I'm over factoring in what it was considered. Um, yeah, until I get a proper, good, clean copy of that, I haven't really entered the idea of doing a video for that just yet. I've seen it, and it's in the back pocket, so to speak. Let's get this filthy one out of the way. Caligula, just sex, not much, if at all, any gore. Anything that comes with the S letter, it's in this movie. So, like, if you're okay with that, you can handle this. This is just porn. There's no real artistic merit to it. I'm sorry. I know it has fans. I didn't realize how many fans Caligula has until I've had a video get a couple dozen thousand people come by and say, "Why are you taking the piss out of this movie?" And it's just like, because it was filmed by a softcore porn company, and nobody wants to claim ownership of it, and it's, like, silly. It doesn't know what it wants to be, it isn't a porno, but it isn't a film either. Also, a brand new cut of it is coming out this year, 50 years later. Caligula is who would like that, and, you can question that. I understand it. I can understand why somebody would question it, but you can watch a porno and not feel as guilty for society after watching that. Martyrs, another French movie, gore, essay content, but the story's really good. It's a very good movie if you can handle getting through the other stuff. I'm actually going to put it at edgy. I really wanna go into other some lines over some lines, but the movie's, like, really good enough to kind of make you, I don't know, be forgivable of some of it, I would assume. Um, alright, so last 3 we have is Serbian film Happiness and Irreversible. Uh, which one should I do first, guys? I'll leave it to you. I got, like, 60 of you voted on this, and there's barely anybody here right now. Yes, thank you, 4th Jordan, but tell people that aren't here, please. Trini, I did not say that, but if you would like me to cover that now, I can, I can. Well, because Trini asked, and it's something that's there. We'll discuss a Serbian film. Trini, in case you joined late, I'm not gauging these on the quality of the film. I'm gauging them on the ability to handle it. And while I think a Serbian film is actually quite a good movie, um, all of the categories we've touched on today are present. Age, essay, gore, all of it. It's all in this movie. Youth, like youth, real young. Um, again, gore. This one has this moniker. I'm going to put it there, but I think it does have artistic merit. I really do. I think the movie is good. It is a it sets its purpose, but I can completely understand somebody not having any time for that movie, because it's a lot. You can make a less h hardcore version of that movie and still get the same point across. But, because I understand it, it's strange that a Serbian film and Caligula are kind of similar topics, but different ends. Uh, by that, I mean the porn category. But, Caligula, if you don't have an issue with gore or anything, you'd certainly have a much easier time with that than a Serbian film. But a Serbian film is a rough watch. We'll do Irreversible, which is a Gaspar Noé film that I've got 2 videos for, the original and the straight cut. Um, all of the big tamales, gore, essay, um, some triggering stuff in there. Good movie. It has merits. That's I'd say that for sure, and it's the artistic style put into the film, the cinematography, the audio, a lot of it is, like, really meant to make you feel uncomfortable on purpose, and it does its job, but I will say it's over some lines. Oh, I'm getting a warning about bandwidth? What does that even mean? Um, okay. If I'm skipping, apparently my bandwidth is don't ever do things for free, people. And last but not least, I didn't purposely do it this way, but Happiness is being released in 4K on Criterion this year. Uh, I would like to get my hands on that and use that footage to source and get a review out for that. Um, Nothing really in the gore category, but everything else in the S category is there. It's my friend who recommended it to me told me that it is the best worst movie you can watch, and that I cannot think of a better way to describe Happiness. It is a morally awful movie, but it's a good movie, which is so fucking terrible to say that. I don't think most of the characters are anybody you can defend. It's really, really dark, black humor. Um, but it is over some lines. I know some people would probably say who would like that. There are things that aren't shown, just implied. It is of the same uh, essence as the coffee table is. Things aren't shown, but it's a hell of a lot more difficult because there's like cuties, there are beauty shots and the male gaze presented, and it's tough. If you're not reading the humor, it is tough to um, participate in that. But yeah, so after 5 years, this is what we've had either watched, reviewed. Coming up in the meantime, like I said, Happiness is that's around the corner on Criterion. I will do my best to get a copy of that and have a 4K version of that review. Ooh, can't wait to dodge the AdSense on that. But yeah, if there's something that you haven't seen a who would like that slash Savage Cinema video for that I've covered, um, let me know why you'd like to see that next and why. Um, or anything else that I know there's quite a few movies that I've been suggested. Um, you could comment them down below. I may or may not have them on the list, but if it's something that I haven't heard before, I'll certainly put it on the list. Um, I appreciate everyone joining me in the chat and voting. Where are you? I guess the fact that I'm going up against Comic Con and a bunch of other things, maybe it was better for yesterday, not today. But until next time, everyone, thank you so much. Have a good evening.